He thought he had buried the past. He thought she was gone for good. But when Tommy turned the corner and saw Maria standing there alive, real, and looking straight into his soul, his whole world stopped. This wasn't just a reunion. It was the spark that could burn everything down or light a new fire inside him. And neither of them were ready for what came next. Tommy Egan had built his name with blood, loyalty, and fire. After losing Ghost in New York, he had nothing left but his rage and his name. Chicago was supposed to be a fresh start, but it became another battlefield. He tangled with the Flynn family, joined forces with Diamond, and carved out his own lane in a city already drowning in power games. Yet, through all the wars, deals, and betrayals, one face stayed in the back of his mind: Mireya. She wasn't part of the street. She wasn't trying to play the game. Mireya was quiet peace in Tommy's storm, and that made her dangerous. Being close to Tommy meant getting hurt, and Mireya paid the price. After the bloody chaos with the Flynn family, she vanished. No goodbye. No explanation. Tommy searched but found nothing. It was like she had disappeared off the map. And a part of him respected that, because he knew anyone who stayed around him too long usually ended up in a grave. Tommy kept moving forward. He got deeper into the Chicago underworld. He cut deals, made enemies, and bled for every inch of turf. But every time he lit up a cigarette alone, her face would flash in the smoke. There were nights when he looked over his shoulder, half expecting to see her, but she never came. So he forced himself to forget. At least that's what he told himself. The city changed, and so did Tommy. He became more focused, more brutal, less trusting. But that ghost inside him, the piece that still hoped for peace, never fully died. It just slept. Until now. When Mireya showed up again, it wasn't planned. It wasn't part of a scheme or setup. Tommy wasn't chasing her. She just appeared. And the moment their eyes locked, everything he thought he buried came roaring back. Mireya looked different. Not weak, but weathered, stronger, like life had tested her too. She didn't cry. She didn't run. She just stood there looking at him like she'd been waiting for this moment, maybe just as long as he had. There were no words at first. Just silence, thick with memories and pain, but nothing in Tommy's world stays quiet for long. Her return wasn't just personal, it would pull triggers in places neither of them could see yet. Because Chicago doesn't forgive and it never forgets. Mireya walking back into his life wasn't just about love, it was going to change everything, and the city was about to bleed again. The night was cold. Tommy felt heat rush through his chest the moment he saw her again. Mireya stood in the back corner of a quiet underground bar, hood up, arms crossed, not drinking, not talking. For a second, Tommy thought he was seeing things. His mind had played tricks before, but this time was different. She looked up. Their eyes met, and the world narrowed into just the two of them. He walked toward her, slow like a man walking through a dream he didn't trust. She didn't move. She didn't smile. She just watched. When he stopped in front of her, it was as if the room fell away. Mireya finally spoke, softly, like she had been carrying the words in her mouth for years. You look tired. Tommy didn't answer. He couldn't. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from everything he had fought to forget crashing. Back in one moment, they sat, no drinks, no music, just quiet words heavy with truth. Mireya had been hiding not from him, but from the people who used her as a pawn. After the blow-up with the Flynn family, there were threats. Not just to her, but to her family. People she never told Tommy about. She thought disappearing would protect everyone. Maybe she was right. Maybe she wasn't. Tommy listened, really listened. This wasn't the same Mireya he once knew. She was harder now, less naive. She had learned to survive without him. But what broke him most was the way she looked at him, not with hate, not even with anger, but with something worse. Distance, as if part of her had already let him go, long ago, and was now just watching to see if he had done the same. But Tommy hadn't let go. Not fully. That's why he reached for her hand across the table. She pulled back. You don't get to touch me just because I came back, she said quietly. I didn't come here for you to feel better. I came here because you need to hear what's coming. That stopped him cold. There's someone new, she said, and he's not like the Flynns. He doesn't want power, he wants revenge. He's been following you for months, and I only found out because he was following me too. Tommy leaned in. His heart was racing now. This wasn't just a reunion, it was a warning. Maria had come out of hiding not for love but to give him a chance to survive. And why risk showing your face now? Tommy asked. She looked at him with eyes that had seen too much. Because if he kills you, I won't forgive myself. For the first time in a long while, Tommy felt something deeper than fear, guilt, regret, love twisted with danger. The old Tommy might have grabbed a gun and gone hunting. But this version worn, broken, still healing, sat there, unsure what. To protect first, his heart, his city, or the woman who still had both. Outside, someone was watching. Myra knew it. Tommy knew it too. The past had come back, and this time it wasn't just about them. It was about what they were about to start, because some reunions don't bring peace. They bring war. Asterisk. Tommy didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. Maria's warning rang in his ears like gunshots. Every word, every glance, every second of their reunion had been loaded with things unspoken. And now he was left alone in his apartment, staring at the city, wondering if he had just seen her for the last time, again. But the next morning she came back. She didn't knock. She used the key she was never supposed to still have. When Tommy turned and saw her standing in his kitchen, all he said was, "You kept that?" "I never threw it away," she whispered. What followed wasn't loud. There was no shouting, no slamming doors. Just quiet pain bleeding out in pieces. Myra told him everything she'd hidden. She hadn't just run for safety. She had run because she found out something that would have broken Tommy if she stayed. Tommy leaned forward, eyes locked on hers, waiting. Maria reached into her coat and pulled out a small, folded picture. It was worn, faded. He took it, hands shaking. It was a boy, brown hair, green eyes. 5 years old? Tommy stared at the photo. Time stopped. "He's yours," Maria said. "I was pregnant when I left. I didn't want him growing up around bullets and blood. I didn't want him watching the man I loved die in front of him, the same way I watched my brother die." Tommy didn't speak. His throat burned, chest crushed with guilt and disbelief. Every time he thought of Maria over the years, he had no idea he was thinking of a family he never knew existed. "You should hate me," she said, "but I'm not here for forgiveness. I'm here because the man coming after you, he knows about the boy. He knows everything." Tommy stood up, unable to breathe, unable to sit still. All his life, he had fought for power, for control, for revenge. But this was something he never knew he wanted until it hit him in the face. A son, a chance, a life that had nothing to do with the streets. "I didn't come to break you," Maria said, voice cracking. "I came to give you a chance to walk away before it's too late. For him, for me. For whatever is still left in you that can feel something real." Tommy turned to her, eyes glassy. "You should have told me. I know," she said. "But I was scared you'd love him the way you love this life. And I couldn't risk losing both of you to this city." In that moment, Tommy Egan, cold, ruthless, feared, felt like the ground beneath him gave out. Everything he built in Chicago, all the blood and bone he'd stacked into his empire, meant nothing compared to what he'd just seen in that photo. A piece of himself he didn't know existed. Now in danger. And the scariest part, he didn't know how to be a father. But he'd killed to protect his child. And now, someone out there was trying to take that away from him. The storm that was coming wasn't about turf, drugs, or loyalty. It was personal, and Tommy Egan was about to become something even more dangerous than a gangster, a father with nothing left to lose. Tommy didn't waste time. The second Myra left his place, he grabbed his coat, checked his gun, and disappeared into the Chicago shadows. He wasn't running from anything, he was hunting. But this time, the hunt wasn't for power, revenge, or territory. It was for blood, because someone out there had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. They had watched Myra. They knew about the boy. And worse, they had whispered Tommy's name like a dare, like they didn't understand. who he truly was. He wasn't just another street boss. He was a storm that never stopped once it started. And now, the man who had nothing to lose suddenly had everything to protect. Tommy began moving through the city like a ghost, talking to people in alleyways, slipping money to junkies, threatening the right lowlifes. He followed whispers, gathered names, and one name kept coming up: Velasco. A quiet, calculating figure, ex-cartel, burned by both the Flynns and Diamond. He didn't want the city. He wanted destruction. And he wanted Tommy gone, not just for power, but for something deeper. Tommy started putting the pieces together. Velasco's brother had been killed years ago, caught in the crossfire of one of Tommy's first Chicago deals, a random body. Tommy hadn't even known. But Velasco had never forgotten. And now, after all these years, he was playing the long game, watching, waiting, digging into Tommy's life until he found something worth more than revenge. A child, Tommy's fury became cold. Focused. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about making sure the past didn't eat the future. And he knew he couldn't do it alone. He called Diamond. He called Vic Flynn. He even reached out to a few enemies, offering deals soaked in tension and bullets. Not because he trusted them, but because he needed every piece on the board to start moving. Mireya, meanwhile, was packing. She planned to disappear again with the boy, to protect him from the explosion she knew was coming. But Tommy stopped. No more running, he said. If I keep running from this, I'm no better than the men I've spent my life trying to kill. She looked at him, tired, scared, but proud. Then what are you going to do? I'm going to end it, all of it. Tommy didn't sleep for the next 3 nights. He set traps. He staged fake deals. He leaked rumors that he was vulnerable, that he was slipping. He let Velasco think he was winning, and when the trap was ready, Tommy set the city on fire. The final confrontation wasn't in some back alley. It was in a downtown high-rise, the same place where Mireya had once met Tommy the first time. Velasco came expecting a frightened man begging for mercy. What he got was a father with a gun in one hand and a fury that couldn't be stopped. Tommy didn't just fight for survival. He fought for a son he barely knew, but already loved. He fought for Mireya, who had saved him more than once with just her silence. He fought for something bigger than himself for once, and when it was over, and Velasco was nothing but a broken name in the dark, Tommy didn't celebrate. He went home. He opened the door, and for the first time in years, he saw a future. Mireya was there. The boy, quiet and curious, looked up at him. Tommy knelt. I'm your dad, he said, voice shaking. The boy nodded slowly. You look like a superhero, Tommy smiled. A small one, tired, real. No, he said. Just a man who finally figured out what he's willing to live for.